Well, welcome into Budweiser Arena. Alyssa Orange, Mike Irwin here. And Mike, before we get started talking about this TCU team and what Arkansas is going to do to be able to win today, it just got a little bit harder. Isaiah Joe out today. The university putting out this release about 10 minutes ago, and the quote from Eric Musselman says Isaiah had knee inflammation after the Ole Miss game. He re-aggravated his knee late in the Mississippi State game. The decision was made today that it would be in his best interest to not play against TCU. What does that mean for this Arkansas team?
Well, you had hoped that he would get back on track hitting his three-point shots. If he's not playing, clearly that's not going to happen. I heard a couple of days ago that the word had filtered out about this inflamed knee, and opponents were actually, he dribbles a lot. He dribbles and tries to penetrate a lot. And we heard they've been bumping his knee intentionally, and it just aggravated it against Mississippi State. And I saw in that game a lot of contact on that right knee, and I think there's something to that.
Yeah, they said again, aggravated him at the Ole Miss game. You could kind of see it at the Kentucky game. His shot was a little off. Something was wrong. Now we know his knee's been bothering him for a few weeks. So you don't have Isaiah Joe, your three-point shooter. What does that mean now for Mason Jones, Jimmy Witt? Maybe Desi Sills steps up, hit some threes today.
Yeah, all of those guys are going to have to step up. I think they're going to need their inside game. Reggie Chaney has been improving lately. It would help if he could get 6, 8, 10 points in this game. Adriel Bailey. They're once again going up against a dominant center, a 6'11", 250-pound guy that you got to worry about foul trouble. The way they work on those guys, they usually double team them, and you can get in foul trouble in a hurry, and then we've seen what happens when the opponent goes to the free throw line 30 times in a game. So that's going to be an issue too.
Yeah, well, let's hear from Coach Musselman and Jimmy Witt about TCU before we break down the Horned Frogs a little more.
Has a star player in Bain, a big guy inside, and Samuel, who's always inside the lane and around the rim. So we got to keep him off the glass. We got to contest the three ball at Bain. And Nebenhart at the small forward position has great athleticism, combination of athleticism and strength.
I've lost to him twice already now, so coming into this game, it's a little bit extra motivation for me personally. Different situation, obviously, with me being here at Arkansas. They're a really good team, really good offensive team. They do a lot of great things out of the pick and roll situation, so we know that's a focus for us, guarding the pick and roll. Desmond Bain, really good player. He was there every time I played him, so he's a main focus for us, being able to guard him. Like I said, he's an elite scorer, elite player on both ends. So coming to the game, we're just going to try to follow our game plan. We have a game plan, our package, defensively, offensively. We're going to try to follow that to a T like we've always been, and try to get on the other side of a win this time.
Coach Dixon, he does. They do what they do. We played him a couple years ago at Staples Center, and they execute really well offensively. They do a good job of getting their best players the ball and their best player shots. They're still going to shoot threes, and we have to do as good a job as we can contesting the three.
So there you go. He talked a little bit about their length. Talking about a TCU team that just beat a Texas Tech ranked team at home, that makes people a little scared. But Mike, you talked about it earlier in the day. They don't play well against away from home.
Well, they haven't so far. They've only played two true road games, and they lost both of them. They lost at West Virginia by 32 points. They got beat by Oklahoma and Norman by 20. So those are their two road games, and hopefully that will work out that way today. They're very good at home, played well in neutral site games, but not on the road so far.
Well, this Arkansas team really needs to bounce back. You don't want to lose 3 in a row. Obviously taking a break from SEC play, but still, this is important. It's the SEC Big 12 Challenge, and I love these things. The ACC does it with the Big 10. It's kind of exciting where you pin one league against the other and see who can win the most games in a day.
Yeah, there's some bragging rights involved, but the bottom line is you just want to win this game. Now, this is going to be a battle between the top three-point shooting team in the Big 12, mainly because of Bain. He's averaging almost 18 points a game. He's coming off of a 27-point performance against Texas Tech. So this guy can go off on you. And here's the problem. He kind of teams up with Kevin Samuel, their 6'11 center, and they do a little inside-out, outside-in action. A lot of times Bain will go up, looks like he's going to take a three. He sees Samuel open down on the blocks, passes down to him for a dunk. On the other hand, if you collapse on Samuel and you got 2 or 3 guys around him, he can kick it back outside to Bain, who hits an open three. So you have to worry about that sort of action going on. And again, without Arkansas's top three-point shooter, it's really important that Arkansas do what it's done most of the year, which is they're the best in the country at stopping three-point shooting, so they got to do that today.
You know, every time you say Bain, I want to make a Batman joke. I can't be the only one that wants to make a Batman reference. Maybe the student section will heckle him with some Batman jokes later on. But I want to ask you before we wrap this up, Mike, who is your player of the game for Arkansas tonight?
I think it's got to be Jimmy Witt. He's got that little short-range jumper or mid-range jumper that he hits. He was off a little bit for a couple of games. Looked like he was doing a little better job of that against Mississippi State. Now he's back at home. I'd like to see him score 20-plus. And then you got to get some inside points. You just have to. And then Mason Jones is always the X factor. You know, you don't know what he's going to do. He'll score 30. He'll score 2.
Yeah.
You know, I'd settle for somewhere in the middle, 15, 18 points. But those two guys, Jimmy Witt and Mason Jones, have to score points today.
I think at least Mason Jones scoring 20 is what I would like to see. Mason Jones is going to be my player of the year. Hasn't had a great game in a few games, so he's kind of due. And that's what Mason Jones does best. Whenever he's kind of had a little bit of a lull, he explodes out of that, and maybe we'll see that explosion today against TCU. All right, the Horned Frogs, the Razorbacks. It's a 3 p.m. tip-off here from Bud Walton Arena. Before we leave, we did this last week, Mike, so I'm going to flip this around, just kind of show you what this crowd looks like. It doesn't quite look like it did last week when Kentucky was in town, but Mike, quickly, how much is the fans, the crowd, going to be important today?
Well, it obviously has to be a big factor. Now, the question in my mind is, we know it's
My bad. Sorry, guys.
that it's sold out. That doesn't mean this place is going to be full. From my experience, what happens is when you got a team on a roll and they're playing a big game like Kentucky, you got a extra 10% that show up that wouldn't normally show up. So what happens to those people now that Arkansas has lost that game? Do they say, oh, well, I thought it was going to be a great year, now it's just going to be a good year. I'll stay home and watch it on TV. We'll find out in about 45 minutes, but I'd be surprised if every single seat was filled. I'm gonna say it's going to be a crowd of 16, 17,000, even though it's sold out, and I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, we've got about 30 minutes before this tip-off. And one other thing I want to talk about, Eric Musselman talked about how he might have changes to the starting lineup. We know Isaiah Joe due to injury. Does he make any other changes, like maybe starting Adrio Belli and Gene Silla?
Well, I think that's the change he was talking about. I think he knew yesterday when he said that Joe wasn't going to play. So that's your change. I'd be surprised if there was 2 changes to the starting lineup. He doesn't play with about 7 or 8 guys, so there's not too many combinations you can come up with. So I think that alone is enough of a change, believe me.
All right. Well, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten yet, so we're going to go get some food downstairs before this thing starts in 30 minutes. Again, TCU, Arkansas, 3 p.m. ESPN2. Thanks for joining us for our pregame, and we'll see you tonight at 6 and 10.
Thanks for watching this Pig Trail Nation report.